Clarice Lispector didn't initially see herself as a writer, so she chose to study law. Her dream was to reform the Brazilian prison system, but by her third year, she realized she couldn't handle the paperwork. In the end, she never practiced law. Santiago Dantas, a fellow writer, journalist, and lawyer, used to tell her that those who wanted to become lawyers because they were interested in criminal law weren't really lawyers. They were aspiring writers. Well, losing her interest in law school, she found a job at a newspaper and started as a journalist in March 1942 at a noite, which means at night. She continued her studies while working, however. Now later, she said the only reason she finished her studies was because a friend became upset and accused her of never completing anything she started. Well, that hit hard. So she made sure to graduate. However, she didn't even attend her own graduation ceremony. Now, back at the Anoite newsroom, she quickly realized that the propaganda for the so-called Excellency's government she was supposed to write felt overwhelming and decided to step away. A few colleagues left with her, including Francisco de Assis Barbosa, who helped her with the novels she had started. Now, at this point, taking her writing more seriously, she decided to get better focus. A move out of the small room she shared with her sisters and brother-in-law was needed, so she spent a month away at a nearby boarding house. Now, she tried to piece together the book using the ideas she scribbled in her notebook. Though she made steady progress, she started to worry that the final product was just a bunch of notes, not a real novel. Well, her friend and fellow writer, Lucio Cardoso, reassured her, saying the fragments were a book in themselves. Now, written when she was just 22 years old, the main character, Joanna, shared many traits with Clarice: family background, strong personality, but Clarice denied the connection. Now, when an interviewer asked her how much she was like Joanna, Lispector simply replied, "Madame Bovary, c'est moi." Now, after 9 months, the novel was complete. Barbosa read the original draft, chapter by chapter. Now, if there is any doubt to Lispector's deep disdain for rewrites, this should put those doubts to rest, because when Barbosa occasionally suggested changes, she rejected them by saying, "When I reread what I've written, I feel like I'm swallowing my own vomit." Nevertheless, Barbosa was amazed by the writing, saying that as he devoured the chapters, it slowly dawned on him that what he was reading was in fact an extraordinary literary revelation. And in regards to the title, she said she discovered it in the epigraph of James Joyce's Portrait of the Artist as a Young Man. The quote is, "He was alone, he was unheeded, happy, and near to the wild heart of life." Now, seeing as James Joyce, as Lispector, also used the stream of conscious method, it was often claimed that she was inspired by Joyce. This profoundly annoyed her. Now, concerning this, she said that she discovered the quote, which would become the title of the book, after the book was already finished. Furthermore, she stated that though she was studying, working, and getting engaged at the time of writing the book, none of these factors, and neither Joyce, were a direct influence on the book itself. With the book complete and titled Near to the Wild Heart, she found publishing within a branch of the same company that published Anoite. Now, as was typical for books written by women at the time, it was published with a bright pink cover in December 1943. It was not a great deal for her, as she would not earn any of the profits, if indeed any profit was made. However, on the bright side, she would not have to pay for publishing. Instead of payment, she was able to keep 100 copies of the total 1,000 first printed. Now, Clarice feared that after she got married, nothing else could happen to her. But with the publishing of Near to the Wild Heart, she immediately found out that she was mistaken, as the novel caused quite a commotion. Now, she was referred to as the rarest literary personality and something exceptional. On topping off the praise, she was awarded the Gracia Arana Prize for the Best Debut Novel of 1943. Now, what made this feat even more impressive was that 457 winning votes were received, though only 900 copies were published. Not often compared to other Brazilian writers, she was instead mentioned among the likes of Virginia Woolf, Dostoevsky, Proust, and Gide. This was largely due to the absence of a Brazilian identity in Near to the Wild Heart. A Brazilian poet and novelist, Ledo Ivo, remembering what he called Lispector's strange voice and guttural diction, wrote, "Clarice Lispector was a foreigner. The foreignness of her prose is one of the most overwhelming facts of our literary history and even of the history of our language."